David Reubeni, David Reubeni 1490-1535/1541, was a Jewish political activist described by the Shengold Jewish Encyclopedia as half mystic, half adventurer. Although some scholars are reluctant to believe his claims to nobility, citing suspicions of fraud behind such claims in spite of Reubeni's unrelenting efforts to make an alliance between Christians and Jews against Muslims by the intermediation of the young king, João of Portugal. In November of 1525 he was nevertheless given an audience with the king, accompanied with a letter. According to Reubeni's own story, this kingdom had 300,000 Israelite subjects. The King of Portugal, impressed by the idea, had initially agreed to supply Reubeni with Portuguese arms, but after 5 months. Biography. Origin. The mysteries of Reubeni's origins are manifold and have not been solved to this day. While Jedaliah ibn Yahya speaks of him as being a man of dark complexion, like a Negro, and of low stature, his place of origin remains a mystery. Ibn Yahya elaborates, furthermore, that when David Reubeni visited Portugal, he stood in need of interpreters who escorted him in his journey, since he was only familiar with the Hebrew and Arabic languages. Reubeni stated that he was born around 1490 in a place referred to variously as Ḥabor or Ḥabor, which was subsequently identified with a place of a similar name in central Arabia. He related that he had been sent by his brother, King Joseph, who ruled the kingdom with 70 elders, who was seeking alliances against the Turks conquering the area for its great wealth. Another version is that his true origin was at a port called Cranganore, along the Malabar coast of India, where a large and well-organized Jewish community had lived for many centuries. Yet another version connects his origin with Afghanistan. Reubeni is the name of a folk hero of the Pushtun tribes, and the similarity of the names is striking. The evidence was found by Prof. W. Fischel, who published an overview of old Judeo-Persian writing from ancient tombstones in Afghanistan, found all over the country, suggesting a Persian Jewish merchant community centered in the lost medieval capital of Afghanistan, Khorasan. But we know little beyond the fact of Jewish presence in Afghanistan. Mission to Rome. David Reubeni had envisioned a grand alliance between 3 Christian kings and 1 Jewish kingdom, King Charles V of the Holy Roman Empire, the King of France, Prester John the Western alias given to the Emperor of Ethiopia, and the Jewish kingdom of Ḥabor, which was then governed by Reubeni's brother. The broader aim of this alliance was meant to provide the necessary force of men in arms to expel the Ottoman Turks from the land of Israel and to facilitate what Reubeni believed was the imminent redemption of the oppressed nation of Israel. To achieve this objective, Reubeni needed to enlist the help of Pope Clement VII, and therefore he set out for Rome. In Rome, with the help of a Jewish friend, he laid out his detailed plans before the Pope, who had said to him that he could not personally get involved in helping to build such a coalition, but nevertheless referred David Reubeni to João, the King of Portugal, who was directly related to King Charles by virtue of his marriage with his sister. Acquiescing, David Reubeni then set sail from Italy for Portugal, accompanied with a brief and letters of recommendation from the Pope to help facilitate his errand. Eventually, Reubeni was given an audience before the King of Portugal. The king, impressed by the idea, had initially agreed to supply Reubeni with Portuguese arms, but after 5 months, Reubeni fell into ill repute with the King of Portugal, who perhaps distrusted his motives, and was asked by the king to leave his kingdom. Oriental Travels. He left Ḥabor on December 8, 1522, traveled 10 days' journey until he reached the port of Jeddah, crossed the Red Sea, and disembarked from his boat in the city of Suakim in the country of the Blacks. He then joined a camel caravan which took him northbound, following the Nile River along the Nubian Desert in northern Sudan, during which time he had disguised his identity by dressing as a Muslim and claiming to be a descendant of Mohammed. This was done out of a concern for his own safety while traveling in a predominantly Muslim country. He eventually reached Cairo, where his Jewish host was reluctant to receive him in his house because of his Muslim appearance, Gaza, Hebron, where he visited the tomb of the patriarchs, and Jerusalem. When he spoke to audiences of Jews, he told of large Jewish kingdoms in the east, possibly referring to the Jewish community at Cochin or Yemen. The Portuguese had just conquered Goa. Reubeni travelled in the Ottoman Empire in the spring of 1523 and to Venice by way of Alexandria in February 1524. European travels. In Venice he reported to Clement VII, claiming to represent a mission from the Jews of the East. He attracted funding from a Jewish painter named Mose and Fellis, a Jewish merchant, for travel to Rome. The same month Reubeni entered the city while riding a white horse. Reubeni obtained an audience with Cardinal Giles of Viterbo and Pope Clement VII. To the latter he told a tale of a Jewish kingdom ruled over by his brother Joseph Reubeni in Arabia, where the sons of Moses dwelt near the Sambation River. He brought letters from Portuguese captains confirming his statements. The Portuguese minister, Miguel da Silva, reported to his court that Reubeni might be useful in obtaining allies. The Portuguese were competing against Suleiman, who had seized Egypt in 1521 and diverted the valuable spice trade. Jewish people raised money privately to give to Reubeni for his travel to Olmerim, the residence of King John Roman III of Portugal, which he reached in November 1525. At first the king promised him a force of 8 ships and 4,000 cannon. Engaged in persecuting suspected Marranos, the king found it difficult to enter into an alliance with a Jew. While they were negotiating, the king refrained from interfering with conversos. Reubeni's striking appearance, a swarthy dwarf in Oriental costume, and messianic claims attracted the attention of Diego Pires, a converso youth of noble birth, who, through the good agencies of Reubeni, had succeeded in returning to his Jewish roots and had taken the name of Solomon Molcho. Jewish ambassadors from the Barbary states visited Reubeni at the Portuguese court. Some conversos were so excited by this activity that they rose in arms near Badajoz, where they freed a converso woman from the Inquisition. Portuguese authorities became worried about Reubeni's mission and the dangers of popular unrest. Reubeni then went to Avignon to take his cause to the papal court and afterward to Milan. There he again met Molcho, who had travelled to the east and made messianic claims. In Milan the two adventurers quarrelled. Reubeni went to Venice, where the Senate appointed a commission to review his plans for obtaining assistance from the Jews in the East. Arrest and death. Reubeni was warned to leave Venice. Joining once more with Solomon Molcho, he travelled with streaming banner to Bologna and Ratisbon Regensburg to meet the Emperor Charles V. Reubeni offered Charles V the alliance of Jews of the East against the Ottoman Empire. In Ratisbon, Reubeni and Molcho met Joseph of Ḥabor, who warned them against arousing the suspicions of the emperor. Joseph was worried about raising issues of the Jews in the empire. When Reubeni and Molcho persisted, officials put them in chains and took them to the emperor in Mantua. There both Molcho and Reubeni were examined by inquisitors. The former was condemned to burning at the stake in 1530. Reubeni was taken to Spain and assigned to the Inquisition at Lerina. As late as 1535, he was still confined in a prison there. Nothing more was heard of him. He probably died there, as Herculano reported that a Jew who came from India sick to Portugal was burned at an auto da fe at Evora in 1541. Another source said Reubeni died in Lerina, Spain, after 1535. Reubeni's diary is held by the Bodleian Library, Oxford. There was possibly a copy at the Jewish seminary at Breslau, but this place was destroyed by the Nazis in 1938. Parts were published by Heinrich Gratz in the third edition of his Geschichte der Judenwahl, Roman 9, and the whole was published by Neubauer in MJC, Roman 2.